Yay!
What up, everybody?
Good morning.
Guten Tag.
How are you doing? I know it's been a long time no see and talk.
It's been a very long time. But yeah, no, I'm doing great. How's everyone doing out in the chat? Is the chat on yet? Is anyone there? If you're out there, let us know how you're feeling. I feel like singing, I guess.
It's fair. It's fair.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're working on
Well,
feel led
yeah.
today. So I had a thought.
Yeah.
I don't remember why this popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one thing you could do is even start giving the PCs little images like in the mirror. Like where maybe they think they see something in the mirror.
Oh yeah.
But it's someone else. And that way, like, because I was thinking like of the trope of like someone else sees themselves in the mirror, but what if everybody's experiencing that? Because isn't it like supposed to be like a super pervasive?
Yeah.
The environment's changing.
Like, kind of makes me think of, I don't know, maybe just because the mirrors are explicitly kind of a thing with the entity in this movie, but Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I was listening to, and we were talking in one of our group chats online, and I have unfortunately infected Super C with a virus called Wendigoon. And he's fallen down that rabbit hole, which, you know, it's an easy rabbit hole to fall down. Which led me to start listening to a podcast called Digital Folklore. And the first episode is about Slender Man, which that's not something that I knew a lot about because it was like after my time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like right on the cusp of that too, of just barely. Yeah.
But they were talking about like that idea of, memes becoming almost like cultural infection.
Yeah.
And like how something like that can take off. And that one of the things that makes it can become so pervasive is the fact that it doesn't have context because it's not real.
Yeah.
That the context starts to become whatever you want the context to be. And then they were talking about, of course, the Waukesha murders and how, one of those girls went undiagnosed with childhood schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, went like 9 months in jail without being diagnosed and went full mental shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
Lost math skills, lost language skills. And how terrible that was because she had started seeing a figure behind her at age 5.
Yeah.
Mirror.
Yeah.
So when she learned about Slender Man, she was like, that's the guy who's been behind me my whole life.
Yeah. It's not too far off almost, some full-blown schizophrenics with religious ideation.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
how like God speaking to them, but in her case it was this
and that's the thing they talked about too, is the fact that her initial is a lot like the initial onset of a lot of folks who have auditory visual hallucination. Mm-hmm. and I've worked a lot with people who have these particular disorders and who go through that. Mm-hmm. Is they weren't negative. In fact, they were positive. They were almost like friends. It's that idea of, like, oh, that's just my special friend. Mm-hmm. But as they got older and they started to kind of become more aware of the world around them and become more aware of kind of the rigors and the difficulties of life, that got more and more negative. So, I think that was really interesting. And I think utilizing just kind of, and that just popped in my head about like, well, what if this is something like they've accidentally opened and it's it's almost like an infection.
Mm-hmm.
Then what if that infection is everyone's feeling some effects of it? It's just
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
does again, kind of like the crazies we talked about. It's just an idea. I had it and I was like, oh, I got to tell Colin about this.
No, that's great. I was actually kind of in the same vein, thinking that there could be little things after the initial contact of this or whatever that they'll start maybe seeing a little more, like maybe that like our heroes bring some of this out of the mines or wherever they end up going into with them. Like it kind of clings, just little seeds of it somehow in a way, and even that kind of gets out there. Maybe like in one of the following episodes, like one of the farmers is like, yeah, all of a sudden, like my cow's like producing sour milk all of a sudden. She's like my best. I don't know what's going on here. And like, but yeah, maybe catching something in like the mirror when they see that too, like whether that's a twisted version of themselves that could become corrupted by it, or if they see like, I don't know, like a glimpse of that mirror world that's just beyond that. Yeah, this barrier's kind of been breached.
Yeah, I kind of thought like that was an interesting concept, so I wanted to toss it out to you. So.
I like that. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess the question would be like what would we want this to like exactly like turn out to be like?
So you're using, I don't know this system extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a mechanic for like perception checks?
Oh gosh, I'd have to
or insight.
Look it right up quick. Hold on.
Kind of that being that awareness of the world around you.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna.
There's almost look this up quick. Yeah, there's almost has to be. I mean, it's kind of a hallmark of modern gaming.
Yeah.
If not, I mean, you can always throw it into a category. I could also just grab the stupid book too. I mean, it's not like I don't have access to it.
If you felt like it.
Yeah. Which is silly. I'm like, hey, go look this thing up.
Yeah, I know, because I have all these files like saved in my phone of like, wait, is that it? Oop. Oh yeah, if you have it on hand, that would. I am. Or wait, here we go. Hold on. Wait.
I'm assuming it would be some type of heart check because it's not strength or dex.
Do you like this one? Yeah, it assumes. Yeah, gosh, where's all right.
Again, I haven't read through this well enough to be able to tell you. Because I would assume it would be like resolve, like force of will type of thing. Let's see here.
Morale, inventory. Would it be what was under the description of heart? Just quick again.
Resolve, charm, and force of will.
I guess would it be strength for like, I don't know, because prowess, I'm thinking maybe in too broad of terms.
I'm thinking heart because it's like, do they even see it?
Yeah.
Are they even aware of it? Or is it just like a gut feeling that, because like the higher they roll, the more they actually see something.
Yeah.
It could be like more of a clue than, oh God, Steampunk Bear.
It's like Dark Tower 3.
Yeah. The more they like have a discerning recognition that it's something going on, and if they roll really well, they would actually see that it's them or someone they know, like staring back at them with that like unnerving smile.
Would we want it to be like someone they've like lost or something like that?
Could be. I mean, it could be them. It could be someone they know. I mean, I think it's kind of getting a feeling for what is going to be the most effective by having that first session with the characters.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, just a thought. I don't.
No, I'm
not necessarily like you should do this. I just like it just kind of popped in my head like how unnerving that could be, and I know that you were especially looking for that moment between when things escalate all the way.
Yeah.
To have kind of that unnerving, like something's not right, but you don't exactly know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm totally into this because this also give just the opportunity for all the PCs to be able to experience something personal to them in this. So it's not just complete like, oh, I'm seeing this happen to this, that, and the other thing. No, this directly affects me in a way. Yeah. Even if it's just psychological. I like that.
Yeah. Do you want to put it in as the next step? Here's your campaign planner, because
I'd put that somewhere towards the end of the first
the hunger.
Yeah,
because my thought was the distressed.
Oh,
you could well, you don't even have to put it in the Grim Portents. You could put it in the beginning of Act 2. The hunger solution.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
You could open Act 2 like your cold open.
Yeah,
is like, you know, you're all getting up and you're going about your morning routine. And then what you could do, this is just an idea.
Yeah, throw it at me.
Is, you know, so and so you get up and, you know, you do a cursory wash of your pits and bits, and you know, you brush your teeth.
Yeah.
And you reach down to splash some cold water on your face. And as you rub that cold water out of your eyes, you see something in the mirror. Super Spike, it's going. Good to see you and Shaggy. You see something in the mirror, and then you ask them, well, what do you see? And then you just start, and then that's what they initially see, and then you start to just mold it to what you want it to be. Because that's one thing, we've got codas in here.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I think is always a good idea, because I always use it, is the cold open thing that Mike Shea uses in his like episode by episode build. So we could use that as the cold open.
Yeah, yeah.
And by we, I mean you.
I want this to be collaborative though, but yeah.
Well, again, this is like I look at when we do stuff like this as a writer's room. Fair. It's fair. I look at it as a writer's room, and you are definitely head writer and director and producer plus actor.
Yes, that's the most important part. And also only
I'm not
subtext.
Yeah, I'm not Jesus Christ. I've come to accept that now.
You know who hasn't is that Chris Pratt, but that's neither here nor there. He's a fun. I love that Mario movie. I'll say that.
I have no interest, but I don't have kids.
My kids were all about it, and I fell in love. Even though, like, the entire time I was watching it, my one thought was like, remember when like cartoons used to actually employ like voice actors and not just like Hollywood actors, you know? And like, I don't know.
Oh, Super Spike, that's a good point. I have
Fallout 4 with the mirror. Oh, hey, dude.
I haven't played a lot of Fallout. I mean, I've got Fallout 76 to play on stream. Haven't played it at all. But I had a friend and I would watch her play Fallout, and I distinctly remember that, and I didn't even think about it. So yeah, that's like a hidden inspiration I wasn't even aware that was there, but that's a really good one. I mean, that's a good idea.
I like that.
Hell, you could use that for the opening when you have people describe themselves as well. That would be, you know what?
Oh,
that's an interesting framing device to use as your cold open along the whole thing. If you don't want to start in media res at the beginning, you could do the wash the face and like who are you?
That's exactly where I was. Like, who are you?
Man, who the fuck are you?
Like, I love that idea of doing the opening, like, oh, I'm washing my face, I see them, but that'd be such a great way also to, and because you'll see I just love it, the reflection in the water, and it's such a cowboy like kind of tropey thing of like, we're washing up in the morning in our pail, and oh boy,
well, I think the way you could do it in the beat one of the in media res is you could do like a oh, what? Okay, guy. Oh, okay. You could do the cold open. PCs are washing up at a pond on the trail of the black hats.
The black hats, yeah.
And just like that's where you started, is they're all like kind of, I mean, we missed the kidnapping. We're already in, the posse's in pursuit. So it's like you can then go, you've been on the trail for like a day and a half, or you know,
it's the morning after you guys rode out.
Yeah. And so like you have them like washing up together at this like pond, and that's where you kind of have them like, who do you see in the water? Who are you?
I like that a lot.
Who are you?
Shaggy, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been there. That's really good, Shaggy. If it was a little, if that was like, if this first episode wasn't like Young Guns, then I would say, yeah, that's great. But yeah, I love that idea. So what would your cold open then? Would you use the same washing thing as the cold open for the because then you can build off of it. It's like you've been through this thing, now that something's gone wrong, when the hunger starts to show itself with the dog or whatever. You could also like I mean, if they roll bad, you can just tell them like, the face you see in the mirror is you, but you look haggard, you look tired, you look like maybe you've got the flu, like you're fighting something off, like your mind doesn't recognize it yet, but your body does.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are just spitballing, and I think I don't want to get us too much in the weeds of like getting down into the nitty gritty of things. This is like, we're supposed to be working on like broad. But if you want to do cold opens for the other two, I think this is a good time to put them in. Just general ideas.
Oh yeah. Although like here, the thing I'm and maybe I'm getting a little too artsy fartsy with it, but like what I'm thinking of is like establishing this kind of cold open cycle of like your reflection in the water, and if we don't bring like the effects of like the evil, I'll just say that, the hunger into it at the beginning of Act 2, I think what would be a cool kind of thing, maybe to start getting it. And maybe this could be a sign of the corruption itself, actually, now that I think about it, because they've gone through this ultra violent experience when this is supposed to be like Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yeah.
And they're now like washing maybe like grit and blood like off their face. And I don't know. But I like this idea of like returning to like, I don't know, the well, I guess, but it's worse every time.
That's what I was going to say, the same thing. You could go so far in the third.
Yeah.
Man, come on.
What happened?
It's being stupid. Screw you, guy. Is you could do for the showdown for Act 3. is it doesn't even any longer have to be in their like residence.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like they find the bodies are gone. You could start literally right after they find that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it's such a horrific thing that like maybe one of them is washing their face in the horse trough because they just threw up.
Oh.
And they look down and they're like,
or
they see something in the lantern light behind them. You know, you can
like
just expand that sense of dread.
It's been a weary night or something, and it's again like maybe establish it's the morning again. You know, you got the comfort of dawn blossoming on the horizon. I don't know.
A new day. No, that's perfect. It's a new day.
And then
without
like,
Big E though, because he's still hurt.
To tie into the bodies, maybe like if this is a favorite like NPC of the PCs, or maybe this is the PCs themselves. Like maybe we're like one of them is like washing, and they see one of those people like right over their shoulder looking at them. They turn around, boom, not there. Something like that. Yeah. I don't know if maybe that's going too far, but
I think that you can pretty much gauge how far you want to take it based upon how it's going.
Yeah, true.
And I wouldn't be afraid to just kind of have the loose idea of the.
Would it be too much to keep the option for
spoopy?
Or I don't know. Yeah, escalation of spoopiness. That's just
because then you can change it. Because you could go so far as to have it be, you know, David from Werewolf in London. Or is it David? Is David the main character? Or is he the buddy? I can't remember.
I think David's the main. Oh gosh, okay. Yeah. I think David.
So whoever the buddy is,
I remember the zombie buddy always being like, hey, David. Like, yeah.
You could have it be that where it's the guy behind them is like, maybe it's someone who died and is like, hey, this is bad. Like, you need to wake the fuck up. Or it could be them, or it could be a number of things, you know. I think the nice thing is with all this, you can treat this like they've all been on this autopilot for so long that, you know, Apple Dumpling Gang autopilot, that they're still trying to do their normalcy, and it's gotten away from them. You know, it's.
I just kind of thinking of like this, you know, so it's Weird West. It's a little bit of spaghetti Western, had a baby with, you know, other stuff, and then it's a little horror-y and whatnot. West of Burn, Cowboy Keanu Reeves. What if, like, to tie into kind of that really classic trope of like horror, there's like a harbinger of doom, and it is to like also take like a note from American Werewolf, like maybe someone who gets killed in that, like some NPC who gets killed in that first episode at the end, and they show up like it'd be such a weird thing, like where maybe they show up in the second episode and they're at a distance, or it's at night or something, and they start speaking to the PCs like, hey, I'm here to tell you something's coming your way, you know, just in the most broad terms, and then reveals himself like, it's this, oh, it's so, aren't you dead? And then like disappears in the night, and then like shows up, like you said, in that cold open to like even more be like, it's a prepare yourselves, it's gonna go down or something. I don't know. There's so much. I don't know.
He just says, "Whoa." I mean, it does, and I think that's kind of part of. I think you could take that idea of like wake the fuck up, though. If you're, I think it lends itself really well to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, I think, works it really well because it's like, you know, are you living in a actual reality? But I think you can do the same thing with something like this, where it's like, what if your reality has changed? What if, like, I can't think of this spot that King calls it, where the worlds converge, and then there's the wasteland. What if
the Thinnies?
Yeah, what if your town just has slowly been swallowed into the wasteland?
Yes, because eventually,
Because
like, I would
that's
love to open. Yeah, go.
that's something that happens in D&D. Like that's the whole thing of like Descent into Avernus is
Yes.
they basically pull a whole city into hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I find that really interesting, that idea. They're just like, this is your new norm now. Like you didn't have any choice in it. But you have no other options but to deal with it. And I'm sure like you would have to adjust mentally, possibly even physically, to this new condition. I mean, you can really go in depth to explain like the air tastes a little bit different. There's more grit in it. There's a smell you can't place what it is, but it's there, and it's just it's almost like it's biting the back of your tongue. The food, you take a drink of your your sludge in the morning, and it tastes wrong.
Yeah.
There's usually a hint of sweetness from the milk, but it tastes sour.
Or maybe when you go to pump the water, like legit black sludge like squirts out, and you have to like prime it a bit before like that nice clear water comes out. But then there's this off, I don't know, like yeah. I like that a lot. Like, yes, yeah, we can make, and then would by Act 3 then the entirety of the town, would you say that would be like a part of everything? Like progressive, yeah. I like that. That's a really cool way to go.
I think it's something where you can show the progression.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I worry about in a game is like you can steal away the agency from them if they think they have any way to stop it. But if it's like, no, this is done, this is your new world now, I think you can get away with that. But it's something to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah,
because
I think
then it turns into like, I think the way you can spin it, if someone's like, well, I don't feel like I had any ability to stop that, is to be able to say, it's not about stopping it, it's about what you take from the old world into your new world.
Yeah. Or it's, in the most basic terms, it's not about averting, it's about surviving.
Yeah,
like this is happening, like and I could do a better real like laying the groundwork that and thinking of this as an actual infection, this merging of the worlds that's happening right here. It's infectious, and it's once it's there, it's taken root, and it's gonna go as far as it can. So yeah.
Because I think it also gives you the benefit of a scene where maybe someone else in the town, an NPC, has figured that out, and they can't handle it, so they just go out to the barn and they.
Yes. Yeah.
And, because I think that also is like, they know that. I mean, you could have it be the local priest, the local pastor or whatever. He's just like, this is not God's world. I'm in hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like trying to figure out like kind of like a little bit of the NPC dressing and stuff like that, and it would just be so. I don't know, like just thinking about like having that character who has seen something like this. This is all Clem from the town. He's all reliable, he's ridden out on a few things, and he like maybe they come to him or he comes to them and is like shook to his core by something he can't explain.
So if you're going to use an NPC as your doomsayer, kind of like the if you go down to that cabin, you're doomed.
Don't go down that road.
Yeah,
the ground's sour.
Sometimes dead is better.
Sometimes dead is better.
Which was
don't slice my ankles.
Which was I can't remember the characters' names from Domains of Dread, who I did the terrible accent, but they were always trying to get to Pepperidge Farms. I've got a brother who owns and lives on Pepperidge Farm.
Pepperidge Farms remembers.
It always did remember. Actually, one of the PCs in that game when we did the rap, he ended up living in Pepperidge Farm.
Hey,
he stayed there. Yeah, it was pretty great.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, if you don't know, I ran a 5th edition Domains of Dread game for 30 episodes. It's all out there. It was pretty fun, but it was definitely horror. It was body horror. It was But yeah, it was also unnerving but stupidly fun at times too. So yeah, if you're ever interested, it's on the YouTube somewhere. But I did it for another, like a group of people that we were doing streaming stuff with, and then because we were not going to switch over to the game Cult, because the guy who was running all the stream stuff got a job working for that company.
Oh.
They basically were like, hey, we're going to stop streaming you on our channel. And we were like, okay, well, let me finish up. And they were like, okay. So it sucked. It was very disheartening because it was like lots of communication, and they got affiliate, and they were like, hey, this is a thing we're all going to be sharing in it money wise and all this. And then it was like a month later, the guy who ran it was like, hey, we're all switching all of our games to Cult. Do you want to switch? And I was like, no. Yeah. And like, okay, well, then we really aren't going to stream your games anymore. Yeah. So like, you're out. Yeah, you're out. And it was like, okay. And then I was like, well, can we like chit chat about this? Yeah, we'll talk more about it. I'll give you more information. Yeah. And then I never heard from him again.
Just ghosted.
Which sucks, because the guy who invited me is still and has always been. We were friends in grade school, and he was like, "I am super sorry about this. Like, I had no idea this was going on, and I feel really bad." And it was like, "What are you gonna do, man?" And then I've got to talk to him less because he's moved to California and taken over like the entirety of the culinary department for a hotel casino, like a giant hotel casino.
Damn.
And he did it during COVID. So it was like real bad.
Yeah. That's
but I'm always trying to get him to play in our games because he's great. Like,
wow.
He's someone that when we were kids, we were making RPGs in his basement.
Oh, that's so cool.
We were doing shit like this since we were kids, and he's one of my favorite people to play games with, and I haven't had the opportunity to play much as an adult. But yeah, anyway, that was a fucking tangent. But I think
it's wonderful.
If you're going to have that Doomsayer, you can start that person as your Doomsayer in episode 1, is like even doing like something like they do. And this might be a good thing to steal from Blades in the Dark, is there's a mechanic in Blades in the Dark called flashback. And each player can do one flashback a game. And they can say whenever they want to do it, they can go, oh, I'm gonna take a flashback right now. And then what it is they get to go backwards in the time and explain why they would be able to do something through a conversation with an NPC.
Yeah.
So like if they ran out of bullets in a fight, but then they were like, well, I have this one, like these other 6 bullets. And you're like, well, how did you get those? And they're like, I'd like to take a flashback. And then they could flash back and say, that these 6 bullets were given to them by, this NPC. And the reason they gave them to him is, and you can basically role play it out.
Yeah, no, I love as much role play as possible.
Yeah, flashback is a mechanic that it's absolutely cool to use, and I find it to be because they can only do it once.
Yeah,
I find it to be a good like almost get out of jail free card. It's also you see them use it. Like I highly recommend Steeplechase if you're not listening to it, which is the current season of Adventure Zone, which is what they use Blades in the Dark. And I see them use it all the time to explain how they know something.
Yeah.
Or like if their plan has gone completely awry and they want to change like their plan they all agreed upon. It's like, so we had this conversation, flashback. Yeah. So we had this conversation that if this happened, that we might have to do this. And and rather than being like one thing I think modern DMing that I really like that I think some grognards hate, unfortunately, is like be a fan of the players.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was gonna say, like,
don't punish, like, facilitate.
This definitely allows them to, it gives some agency, a good deal of agency to them, and gives them a good chance to inject more flavor. And I'm all about that. I think this would be a wonderful addition to
So
games.
one thing with flashback too, because I'm probably going to start utilizing it in my games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Flashback and Devil Deals. I think I'm going to institute both of them in my games. And the Devil Deal is the PCs. It's mainly for 5th edition, but you can use it for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Is the PCs can at any time during the game, one time during a session, can say, "I'd like to make a deal." And what it means is, whatever the roll is, it's an automatic critical success. Now, the deal though is, one time during that session, the DM can make one of their rolls an automatic failure, an automatic 1. And that was like, oh, that's interesting. And I think it's from a different game system, because I can remember them using it on Adventure Zone. But there was someone in one of our groups put an Instagram of someone talking about using it, and I was like, I love that. Like, that's a really cool like thing to throw into your game.
Hold on, I got a little rascal over here. One second.
No problem. So, I mean, I think it adds a level of unpredictableness, and also of like, if you do this, you're doing this with the knowledge that there will be a cost.
Yeah, and at any time.
Yeah,
I like that.
But it has to be a cost to that player. It can't be shunted off onto another player. Which I agreed with, because at first I was like, well, I would just fuck somebody else. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, then you're just causing strife within the group to cause strife within the group. And that's like not cool. So, and Carlito spits Apple in the face of everything that's not cool. So I thought, well, if we just keep it on that person, I think that's a good idea. It was kind of like a mechanic I used to use when we all played in person.
Yeah.
Is I had a pool of dice that were just plus, minus, and nothing. And it was like, the pool is there for you guys to use, but the result is the result. And once you're out of these dice, you're out of these dice.
Yeah.
And it replenishes every game. But I'd have people grab a handful of dice, and other players at the table would be like, whoa. We might need these. And also, if you're getting a bunch of negatives, it's like, you're just spending nothing.
Yeah.
So I found it to be a really fun mechanic to use in person, because it was like, there is a tangible thing, and you do have players that just want to roll dice.
Yeah.
They get very much into that idea of like, I just like to roll lots of dice. So you can utilize that. But I think this Devil Deal would also be another good, like, additional randomizer, additional kind of success with consequence, I guess.
Yeah. And it fits very, very well into this genre. Like, it really does. I
think I'm going to utilize it in basically everything. I like the idea. Because I really like the idea of it. I really do.
Oh yeah, no, that is like.
What was the thing we were talking about before Devil Dice?
Flashback mechanics.
Flashback, yeah. I think I'm going to try to use flashback more too. I think it's a really good mechanic. Sorry,
it's very it lends to also like a real good like cinematic flavor in a way. Like, it's like, all of a sudden you're in the action. Oh, cut back to remember when this happened. Oh yeah, okay, and then we get the establishing shot. Let's move forward. Like,
I think that the key to it is getting across to player, and I don't have any currently who would abuse that. But I think getting across to players, like, if you abuse it, I'm going to take it away.
Oh yeah, I'd maybe put the rule up that like once a session, everyone gets a chance to.
Yeah,
like,
I would say it's once a session for sure.
For sure. Even all right, I don't know about Devil Deal though. Would that be once a session, or would you do that? Like,
yep. No, it's once a session. These are both once a session things.
Yeah.
So it's like, you've got to kind of make that decision of like, if you do this, like, it's a thing.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of utilizing these two kind of optional rules, I guess.
Yeah.
That communities have come up with, or that are in other games that seem to work really well, and I think would add a quotient of fun. That it's not necessarily like it's missing. It's just that it would be it would be just a little cherry on top of Sunday.
Yes, a perfect accoutrement.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that's a thought.
No, I'm
I don't even
married
know
to
where
it
that came
already.
from. I'm sorry.
It's great.
I don't even know where that came from, but
it came from a really good place. I'm glad it arrived. Because I want it and I need it, and we're going to use it.
Perfect. Perfect cut print. So where were we before I got?
Yes, Super Spike just threw a gem. Yes. You're probably wondering how I ended up like this.
That's fair. That's completely fair.
It's wonderful. But yeah, okay, so
do you want to put this then in your truths of the game that you're using that?
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Faux show. Those are just like you said, the fun and the heartbreak too that could potentially be had with both those is gonna be wild. Oh, excuse me. Almost burped. Ugh.
I think it's also very important to get across like this is something. This is a gift. A storytelling gift I'm giving you.
Yeah.
Don't abuse it, or I will take it away. It's kind of like that idea of like, don't say I'm taking a flashback to then go back and say, well, I did all the research, so I know exactly how to kill this.
Oh yeah. If
a reasonable flashback is like, I did a bunch of research and I think I know what this might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I think I came across this in a book once. Like I might be hear tell this could be the tale,
and that's where you were able to, as an NPC, give like 3 options and one's true.
Yeah,
so they know it could be one of these 3 things. That works really well.
I like that. Yeah, because I
just know I played and I've run with people who would be like, oh, this is a get out of jail free card.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, like the possibilities to abuse this are pretty high if you are playing with that right personality type.
Power gamers and this would upset rules lawyers just because it's such a not a part of this is not part of the official rules.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You need to remove this from our game. And for power gamers, this would be like, oh fuck yes, this is a way for me to cheat the system entirely.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I remember I went to the other side once when I was a child.
Oh, I've killed everything.
Yeah. Oh, I know exactly what this is. Don't worry, townsfolk.
Yeah, and then drama sponges would use it as like, this is the thing that killed my family and my family's family, and it's coming for me. The rest of you, you're just all
in service to my story.
Yeah, this is all just a happenstance that you're even here. This is about me. Those folks who have main character syndrome.
God bless them. They're trying to have a good time. I think they don't realize their good time is eclipsing everyone else's.
I think if you're really good at running a game, though, well, actually, I think if you're good at running a game, or if you're constantly trying, I think you can give people a main character arc within game.
Oh, everyone! I that's something I'm really trying to get a grasp of. Is really giving everyone that arc, and I find there's some players that you almost have to push them a little bit. Be like, yes, take a little more. This is for you. Like this will give. Yeah.
I think also there's this concept. Some people call it strings, and I think Shay calls it knives. You need to constantly be asking your players for knives. You don't want them to have a backstory that's a tight bow. You want it to have like if a player gives you a backstory of like, oh, my family is this, and we had a lot of folks like extended family, then you're like, oh fuck, I just have a ton of knives right there because I'm just going to start pulling those potential, people from your past showing up in the game.
Yeah.
What Mike Shea says, if your players give you a handful of knives, you need to stab them with all the knives. And stabbing them with all the knives does not mean they're all necessarily bad.
Yeah.
But you might have an NPC show up and who's like can be a fantastic ally, and you also need to be very aware that all the NPCs can't turn on the PCs. That's just not a real thing.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the reasons why PCs get the thing where they're like, this person was nice to us, let's burn this whole fucking place to the ground. It's a trap.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are just nice, guys.
Yeah. No, one of my goals.
One second for me. I'm listening. I just am shutting my camera off for a second.
Go for it. Yeah. And like, one of the goals like I was really hoping to achieve out of the game is creating like a really rich town full of people that they'll, if not outright they'll feel compelled to want to take care of, and hopefully they will like a good deal of them. Because it's so easy to fall, I feel like, into that thing of like everyone's got to die. Not necessarily like murder hobo levels of it, but kind of close to in a way.
I think it's one of those things where players have been so conditioned.
Yeah, exactly. A really good example of this. Like during the pandemic, I was playing this with this guy who's like first edition player, and he finally had kind of got the resources to make his own like homemade module that he was gonna put out. We were kind of like game testing it and everything, and he set up this thing where it was like there was this barricade in this like flooding dungeon of some sort, and we all instinctually were like, well, remove that barricade, let's go down there and then see what's up, and like ended up like circumventing all this other stuff he had wanted us to do. And he's like, why did you guys do that? And we were just like, oh, it's like, like Zelda, you tap the wall, you hear the thing, and we're gonna go that way. And we definitely, the conditioning is totally there to want to be like, these people can't be trusted, we need to like,
no one can be trusted.
Yeah, like everyone, we're in it for ourselves, and even then, maybe not my fellow players can be trusted.
Super Spike, I take offense to that. I played in a game for a number of years where I had a war goat named Cletus. Ooh. And you could definitely be buddies with that goddamn goat. He was marvelous. I think it's always good to be able to try to, when you're like, and this is just me, I'm trying very hard to make NPCs who don't always have a potential negative agenda, but they have an agenda.
Yeah. So
what is their arc? And realizing that, while I want to drive them like I stole them, that doesn't always mean like they're going to be mad rushing towards the cliff.
Yeah.
Because they have goals, strong. And then like, so one thing I try to do sometimes is like, if I'm doing a game like Chaos Scar, is I will assign DTA. Is I will give them like an actor. And I will try to like someone who's shady. I'll try to give them an actor who, it's like this person generally plays these types of parts.
Yeah.
But like if it's someone else who's a little more complicated, I want to give them an actor who is like, okay, well this, like I always think of, and I will generally try to put like a time span on them as well, because like if I want to say, oh, this person's like Wilford Brimley, I don't want people to go, the Beatus guy. I want them to go, oh, from the Thing.
Yeah, the doc from the Thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel much better.
I'm much better.
Mac, I feel much better now. Yeah, I'd like to come out. I'd like to come back in with the noose hanging in the background.
Yes.
I mean,
watch The Thing.
Yeah, if you have not, watch The Thing. But
And if you have seen it, watch it.
Yeah.
Again.
Be this guy. I do love the meme someone made where it's just Brimley, but it's like the Obey poster, and he's grayed out and his eyes are glowing. And on the bottom, rather than saying Obey, it just says Beatus.
I haven't seen that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, I think utilizing that can also help people playing with like initial reactions. Mm-hmm. And for me, sometimes it helps me keep in mind like these folks have roles.
Yeah.
And they have what am I trying to say? They have if they're good and they're fleshed out, they have wants and hopes and dreams. Super Spike, it's my favorite all-time movie, but I can understand how it's not for everybody. So you love what you love, So I think that might also help as you start to like work through your NPCs.
Yeah.
Is like trying to figure out who they are, what they mean.
Yeah. Also like, relationships to each other and stuff like that. And
instead of like an alignment too, what I would probably recommend is like maybe start a clock on them. Have each person have a clock, and clock is another thing from another, like I'm using it in a broader sense, but there's a mechanic called clocks in Blades in the Dark where you're like this, there's a clock started on this, so you've only got so long before this thing happens. You don't know what the thing is, but it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you could put a clock on your NPCs by saying, there's 4 phases to the hunger.
Yeah.
This person already starts at a 2.
Okay. Okay.
You could be like your black hats could start at a 3 already. So when they hit 4, they're done. They're consumed by it. So what you can do with that is your NPCs just add them. Are they at a 1, 2, 3, or are they subsumed? But I think that also, and then you put conditions that the PCs can affect. Like an act of kindness might stall. A positive conversation with affirmation of beliefs might stall that. Maybe a reminder of a happier time might stall that.
Like somehow breaking the spell of
the decline. I think those things can be interesting sub mechanics to kind of just throw in to help you have like, okay, here's the, just even using like a spreadsheet and having them out like, okay, this, like, let me grab a spreadsheet here that I use. It might be
right. Here we go. We're finding it.
Sorry,
no, it's all good. I'm trying to.
I'm slow. So
you're great.
So here's like something I use for the NPCs at the school.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So I've got my faculty here. So I know like, and then I've got like, here's the secrets.
Ooh, this is beautiful.
Here's their motivation. Here's, any notes I have about like other important things.
Yeah.
Here's their alignment, I guess. Here's what they teach. Here's the skills that it helps players with.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go to like students. Here's the classes they take.
Damn.
Because I have a class like a manual, I guess.
Yeah.
Some notes on those characters, and you can see some of them who their counselors are. Some of them don't even have that because they haven't had to deal with them.
That's it is very impressive.
And then for
also like exactly a tool that would like just completely work for, especially the idea of like having this living, breathing town in a way. Yeah. And then like even assigning like there's a rascal behind me. Where is he?
Like I was keeping, I don't know if I've done it lately, but like who they have positive and negative relationships with.
Yeah. Especially because like like that's just such a thing, I think, too, of like kind of the West is like not everyone's getting along in the town, but when the chips are down, the town comes together. There's a little boy dancing behind me.
And I think that's also a good way to show that things are off.
Mm-hmm.
Like here's the class's catalog.
Yeah.
So like, tanking 101.
Having possibly like, so and I, we've been like thick as thieves since being little kids, and all of a sudden
that's a good flashback.
Yeah.
That was a flashback that happened. They used the like bones of that in Ethersea when they did Ethersea as well, which was just heavily modded 5e, heavily modded.
Yeah.
Because the whole world took place underwater in a world that had a cataclysm where everything had to move underwater. But they used that to tell the story because they used a different game. I can't remember the name of the game now that was like, they used this conversational game to basically build the world.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the one that Beard liked so much, but it was one like it where everybody sat around the table and for like 5 episodes of the podcast, they just made the world.
Yeah.
And made like NPCs of importance before the world collapsed and, how all that came to be. But occasionally in the game, they would be able to tell flashbacks about like their lives before now.
Yeah.
And it helped because and Griffin was running that one, and he's really good at running games. So he would like prompt the PCs by saying, so-and-so, you knew this person before the cataclysm. What was your relationship like? And then they would go into like a story of like, well, me and this person, we did this together.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good tool to use. Now, granted, that's a little bit more of I think it's a harder tool to use. That maybe you give them only one of those overall instead of every episode.
Yeah.
Because it's only a 3-part thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Now I'm even like wondering, like, do we restructure that? But
no, I mean, I think again, these are just ideas, and I know I'm really good at like throwing a lot of shit at the wall, and some of it shouldn't stick.
I'd say though, for all this, like, these are all things that I think could really serve like this kind of story I want to tell, because and actually like giving like the PCs that chance to like really build up these relationships and inform, like make them feel like they're a part of this town, like they actually have real stake in.
So one thing you could do with that too is there's a game called Beyond the Wall and Other Tales, and it is
I've heard you talk about that quite a bit. Yeah,
it's a mishmash of 2nd edition and 5th edition.
Okay.
But one thing it does is like during character creation, they're creating the town.
Okay.
So like the PCs are telling you who lives there.
Yeah.
And they also do this thing where they tell you like one thing they know, one thing they know isn't true, and one thing they think might be true about the area. So like when I was playing, I might say like, I know there's a cave out west of town where the lizard men who attacked the town 4 years ago buried their dead. Yeah. I know that's true. I've seen it. One of the other PCs around the table can say, that's not true. That's not true because what that is that's a super old cairn for those lizard folk. See, it's still true.
Yeah.
But it's just not what I think it is. But you're building that, and you're building like you pick, like you say, oh, I know this NPC. Like the last time I played, it was like, I knew the captain of like the guard basically, and you're in a village, you're not in like a big place. Like I know the person who like sets at the palisade watches because my character wanted to join the guard.
Yeah. Tales from the Loop has kind of a similar mechanic where you can have someone that you like, oh, I have a relationship with this person. Like,
exactly. And I think that mechanic is really interesting.
Oh yeah, it's sometimes it's thrown a wrench into my plans as a GM, but like in the best way possible.
Super Spike, that's perfect. That's perfect. But what you need to do is follow up by then explaining to the DM and the people watching what actually happened.
Yeah.
You can have your players say that to the other players, but then like if I'm running, I'm going to be like, perfect. Now you think back in your head and you're reliving what happened. So what happened?
Yeah. It might not, like the other people won't know it, but like it'll be true to you. This is what you experienced.
Yeah. And so I know as well, because what you're doing is when you say that line is you're handing me a knife with a sheath on it. Can't use it.
Oh.
Or I can really use it, but you won't enjoy it because you had no input.
Yeah.
So I think a really, really, really good DM who really knows their folks could use that very easily. But I would be worried that I would fuck it up. Yeah. So if you're going to hand me that, I'm going to want you to pull it out at least halfway so I know what I'm getting into. So it might be something like he did something to your family, or, you know, I mean, it wouldn't be a thing I need like an in-depth 20-minute soliloquy on.
Yeah. Like he did me wrong in a business deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would even be asking questions like, do you say I'll see somebody in hell all the time is like a saying you have, where it's like, you know, not that
does
big
that
a deal?
have weight to you?
Or is that just like, or is that like fucking, that's the worst thing that you say about people? You know, is this like a, you know, I'd kill you if I could get away with it type of thing? Or is this like I'd break your nose and beat your ass in front of the whole town? You know, you kind of got to figure out what that is, because I don't want to leave it ambiguous for when I go to pull that knife and stab you with it, that I do that. And then the player goes afterwards like, well, that's not what I meant. Because I've done that. I'm like, oh, you just gave me the juiciest shit. And then I use it. And then I've had players come up to me later and say, that's not kind of what I was thinking. And it's like, well, fuck, now I let you down. You know,
that look, and I've gone through it. I mean, I try to be
a
good DM, but like sometimes I do fall short. And there's been times where I have taken that, like, well, this is what's happened and this is the result. And you see that look in the player's eyes where it's like, that's not what
I've never had a player come to me voluntarily and be like, but I have had players where I've been like, hey, you know, afterwards go and pull them aside, or even sometimes I will just send out a message when we're done and be like, hey, you know, any feedback or anything you liked a lot, or anything you didn't like. And I've had players go, well, but I do want to know, because in Domains of Dread, again, I don't know why I'm coming back to that so much right now. One of the players started killing kids.
Yikes.
And I gave them every opportunity to not do that.
Yeah.
But I would put that temptation there. And they just started doing it. Because they weren't just killing them, they were eating them. And the players seemed fine with it, but then like 4 or 5 episodes later, a couple of them were like, you know what? And I was like, no, that's cool. And I never did it like explicitly, but it was like one of those, like, something happens, like there's a kid and then they're there and then like fade to black type of thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like with any like romantic stuff. I make sure it's like fade to black moment.
Yeah.
But a couple of the players were like, I really did not like that once I had time to process it. And I was like, okay, that won't happen again. And it didn't. I found a way to kind of manipulate around that. But I think it's like, I think it's, and the whole thing was that character ended up becoming an antagonist, because they did. They weren't a good person to begin with. But I think that having a conversation about the level, especially with a horror game like this, it's going to be really important. And recognizing what those limits are.
Oh yeah.
Because some players are going to hand you knives where they don't have the same limits.
Yeah.
And they might get disappointed if you don't push the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like going to be like, how do I walk that line? And so it's having that conversation where like, are we all on the same page about how far this is going to go?
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing again that I got told afterwards, and I was so thankful for it, and it made me it has made me a better facilitator of games, is that idea of like, I'm not DMing to one person.
Yeah.
And I'm not DMing to myself. I'm not running the game for myself, which I don't think any of us mean to do, but we can do it very easily.
It's because sometimes, I mean, I get very married to like an idea of some sort, whether it's like a scene or a specific feeling I want for a certain thing. And it might completely jive against how everyone else has been making the game flow. And that's a hard thing to, to kill your darlings in a sense, to let go of those things in service of the players.
Well, I think too, it's like, okay, you want like, where we're at. You've been prepping for this moment, for this beat, and you're building it, and you think like, this is it. This is going to be like a big point of like, this is going to be a driving moment, and then the players turn it into a haha.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck me. But the reality is, instead of saying fuck me, it should be like, okay, that's even better.
Yeah.
Because now I can turn beat 3 into something. Yeah. Because now you've made this moment, and rather than it being, I'm trying to think how I described this previously. Have you ever heard of DC Challenge? I know I've talked about this before on this show.
I'm not sure if I do. No.
So back in the 70s, DC had a comic book called DC Challenge, and they've done it.
Super sorry.
Dance off.
Very good.
So they had a comic where every issue was done by a different creative team.
Okay, yeah.
But the deal was the creative team before had to leave the book in a challenging position. So you were basically picking up for somebody else and trying to take what they did and then push it forward.
Yeah.
They did a newer version of that. I want to say in the early 2000s with Commandy, just called Commandy Challenge. And I have the trade of it. And it's really good. It just starts to fall apart at the end because they have to go so far to keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really cool idea, and I would love to run a series like a 6-part game doing that with other where the players are always the same, but the DMs are different for every part, and it becomes like a challenge scenario. But I think that's the way I look at it when players do something like that, where they take a beat and they go in a direction I was completely unprepared for, is to look at it as like, okay, this is the challenge. Like, the tone and tenor have changed. How do I meet that and not force it to go a direction? Because that's what, like you said, that was my darling. But how do I take the wonderful gift they've given me and make it something that's going to be exciting for everybody?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the challenge. I think it's even harder in a horror game than anything else, because when we're bothered by something, we can tend to want to laugh it off.
Yeah.
Or to kind of make fun of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, have you seen Over the Garden Wall?
Yes.
I think it's a really good job of like balancing something that's humorous with something that, if you go back and watch that and try to like, it's fucking messed up. Like, it's really good, but it's messed up.
Like, I watched that with my kids, and they were enjoying it on a whole different level than I was. And like, but there is some very terrifying imagery in that. Also, another show to shout out is Infinity Train, which wonderful show for children, but also I understand why it's rated TVMA in season 3 and 4, just for like the imagery and it's not even violent. It's unnerving. Like there's this one episode where they find all these people and they're like in these cocoons with like bits of like tape running up out of their head that has all their memories on it. And then there's these mechanical spiders that are eating the tape to like collect these people's. That
imagery is really fucked up. I mean, I think Adventure Time does that really well.
Big time. Oh yeah.
Final Space, if you've ever watched Final Space.
Yes.
Final Space does that really well too. Where you've got the primary character who at the beginning of season 2 talks about how he's hated on Reddit. And it's really disarming. It's really funny because that character was hated on forums, but it also makes him kind of endearing. So when all this horrible shit is happening to him, you actually go, as annoying as you can be, it makes you more of a real person to me that you are annoying. And then when these things happen, it's like, I do care that they're happening to you.
Yeah.
So I think, that's another thing, like how it's finding that balance, because really good horror, I think, has comedy attached to it.
Oh, yeah. The Thing, like when after they do the blood test and the one guy erupts into a monster, you still got those guys tied up, and he's like, well, you get me out of this fucking chair.
I'd rather not spend the rest of the winter tied to this fucking
and you
chair.
laugh out loud, but like you just saw.
Or when the thing that the head grows legs and starts to skid away, and the guy goes, what the fuck?
And even the way it skitters is a little, it's comical, but also it's just, you're seeing pure horror at the same time. But yes, it's such a human, it's so human, the quality to when you're facing something that is unpleasant, to laugh, whether to de-stress yourself or to take power away from what, and
that's something like I need to be better at as someone who runs games, because I've run Dread, which I highly unfortunately got to play it in person because the randomizer is a Jenga tower, but I think I fall short on with that because I can be unrelentingly grim sometimes. And even like Domains of Dread, I think rather than like utilizing some humor, I instead was like, I'm going to utilize like emotional connection, and that works, but it's also draining.
Yeah.
And I think that it would have been better to, and I'm not even thinking like all out humor, but instead just have peppered in like beats that were more lighthearted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A good, for me, personal example towards that is I did a game for our last big thing, our charity drive. I did a Tales from the Loop game called Late Returns, and I'm not gonna lie, like creating that game, it was very personal, very emotional to me. Like I was like, I tried to make this, I wanted it to be this super duper drama, and that gang of characters, those players were like, they made it the funniest thing ever. And you know what? It was actually way better to do that, because it turned it into something so wild and zany, and in a way, it was just much better than the seriousness and the earnestness that I had planned. And you just got to roll with it sometimes. Yeah,
I agree. I think that can be very difficult sometimes, because you do get married to those.
Oh yeah.
The direction and the ideal in your head, you're kind of going, well, this isn't the story I set out to tell.
Yeah.
Is this still my story? And then you have to remind, like, it's not your story. It's our story.
Yeah. You put out the material, you brought the building material. They're going to erect the house. Yeah. Like, you just have to sit back and watch what happens. And that for me is I found out is to be the true joy of being a DM, is you set up all these toys, and then you watch these people tell the story with these figures that you put in place for them, and where they can take it to places you never imagined. And it's just, it's wonderful.
That's the beautiful, yeah. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's a collaboration like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why I'm stuck on that today. But like Domains of Dread, I can point back to a billion different spots. I think there's like 30 episodes.
Yeah.
Between 25 and 30, I want to say, or between 20 and 30. Where I could have done much better.
Yeah.
But I will say that the players enjoyed it.
Yeah.
They've all come back and been like, I really like that. And you wrapped it up in a way where we don't have to go back to it, but because one of the NPCs, part of them made it into the current game. They still, those players who were playing that game, who were playing this game in Down Outlands, are like, they know they have history with that. Some of the items made it out as well, so they're like, oh, my former character had that item that has some weight to me personally.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're building a big tapestry, something like what you're talking about doing with We Deal in Lead, like that idea of like transporting something to a place that can feel like the armpit of the universe in a lot of ways, or at least a conjunction point where lost things go. You can drop things in there that are like Easter eggs for players.
Yeah.
I know sometimes it's a little too inside baseball and fan servicey for the people that play in your games all the time. I'm super guilty of it, but I enjoy doing that. And I think it also, for not the characters, but for the players, it adds some weight to this idea of like, what I'm building exists in something bigger than one game.
Yeah. I would love for this to be like just the toe in the door to something bigger that people would maybe want to return to, whether it like same setting or just in the same world, but yeah, like have stakes and have like real connection and really bring out that full sense of collaboration where like you just get on that same vibe and you are playing with the players in the same sense almost, like, yeah.
Super Spike, if you want Sid from Toy Story again, Domains of Dread, and just everything that Magnar does. You talk about watching a player turn into a real son of a bitch. It's pretty brutal. But yeah, I think that we're okay. So let me ask you a question. Where do you think you are at in your process creatively right now?
Well, right now I've got definitely
when you're looking at this, where are you in the process of like, I could run this tomorrow, I could run this in 10 days, or you know what I mean? I'm not doing
I could probably get this fully fleshed out and running by this weekend.
So you feel like, hey, I'm ready to go. Like,
yeah, I'm getting there. I just right now, like I have, I guess the beats, and the general flow of where I want and what I kind of want each act to feel like. And right now, it's all about just, I guess, dressing it up, putting the bells and the whistles on it, and just like the little bits of like, here's like a name for this, and here is like this guy's like just that stuff. But the broad strokes, the adventure itself, that's all locked down.
I think at that point, then it's we hit a point where I don't think that I think at that point then I should bow out of helping you then.
All right.
Because my thought process is like, I would want to play in a game like that.
I'd love for you to be a part of this too.
So I don't want to know anymore.
Perfect. Because I would like, I feel like we've got a lot of good tools set up for me to use, and I've got a perfect roadmap to kind of adhere to if it's possible enough. But like, yeah, I feel like for what we've accomplished, I don't want to let any more of that juicy goosey goodness out. I don't want it out there. I want to keep it to myself and then give it out in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't tell me shit.
No, I agree. I think there comes a point where it's got to be like, this is where we are.
Yeah. I think I feel like we nailed it. I really love the ideas we all got down here, and what you gave me today, especially with the flashbacks and devil deals. That's going to be wonderful. That's and the stages of like the NPC clocks and things. That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm totally down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry. My brain is just not doing well.
It's Sunday.
I feel like I've got a lot of pep in my step and for a little bit, and then my brain hits a point where it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Who are we?
Who am I really?
So for anyone that cares, I'll put it in the don't tell me shit, Kate. I will put the link to Domains of Dread because it's not on our page. It's on TTRP Theaters page. Although I would surely love to have it on the Known World United thing, but because I did that for them, with them, I guess I don't really own it. I don't know how to explain them. Yeah. So, but yeah, there it is. If anyone gives a shit to watch it, I feel it was the first streaming game I did.
I've heard you talk about it so much, and I've heard other people talk about it. I do need to check it out. So yeah, I'll definitely.
Apparently, it's only 18 episodes. I thought it was longer than that, but 18 like 3-hour episodes is.
Oh, nice.
I mean, considering like Down Outlands were over 50.
Yeah.
But 2 hours are good pops for a ongoing. I think if you're going to run a mini series, 3 hours is about where you want to hit your stop point.
Yeah.
Also, I was fiddling with this. Does this look good to anyone else besides me?
Yeah, I like that. Wait, what do we got? Is there more detail inside?
The head?
Yeah.
No, it's just like a domey thing.
Okay, yeah, no. I didn't know if there was like if it had like the like the early xenomorph quality where you could see the skull in it or something like that. But
no, like you can see the plug.
So do. No, man, I think it's cool.
So I'm thinking about painting the brown like the same type of like slight metallic gray. Ooh. I'll figure out the rest of the body, but I was like, I got this head. It's from, I think they're from G.I. Joe Classified, but it's like a weird subset they're doing.
Aren't they doing like some zombie stuff?
They might be. They're doing all kinds of crazy
stuff.
Action Force. Yes. Thank you, Super Spike. It does have a smaller size. Yeah, I don't understand the whole Valaverse thing at all. I've never had Matt like explain it to me. I've always been like, I should ask Matt. Matt knows. And then I always forget. I don't mind the smaller size because it looks okay on it. Like Heath Skeletor and this, they look like they can exist in the same space.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So it's like, I know like this head is a little small, but one reason it looks small is because the arms are gigantic because they're not He-Man arms.
Yeah,
they're arms from a BAF absorbing man. So like, it makes it look interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what I was trying to say there. Words.
It looks good. I think. I mean, it looks pretty comparable to something you'd find in Masters for sure.
But I kind of like thought of a Roboto version of Buzz Off. So
I like that.
So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Colin, where can people find you?
Right here, probably most Sundays coming up, and yeah, just kicking it around.
Used to work for Hasbro, left or got fired, wanted to make his own G.I. so he snatched up the Action Force branding before they could. Could it failed, reward succeed. Nice.
Very nice.
Interesting. I thought Hasbro was putting out this stuff, but if they're not, I mean, that's still cool.
Good.
It feels like if it's not by Hasbro, at least it's running concurrently, and I really enjoy that. Cool. Thank you for specifying that, Spike. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Spike.
Now it's something I want to look more into because I'm like, oh God, that sounds interesting. But like this Albert head is big, but it looks smaller because I put the Hordak thing on it and all this other stuff. I guess he wasn't Albert at that time. He was Lord Tensai because he's got the script on his face, like trying to rip off Hakushi a little bit. But Vince, you should have just brought Hakushi back.
Yeah. Vince,
you would have done him dirty the first time.
He was kind of cool.
He's amazing. And you watch his stuff in Japan and you're like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, no. Totally. Yeah. It was just like that was not he had really good matches with Bret.
Yes, he and Bret Hart had a great like mini series of matches.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it? I think I sent it in our chat that there's a guy I follow on eBay who makes heads, made a great Muda head for his induction head. It's great looking.
Yeah.
Like it's not the old school Muda, it's the new school with the mask.
I like that new mask.
Oh God, it looks good.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is it doesn't come with Ric Flair fucking up his induction.
Yay. Can I just
fuck
say
you, Ric Flair?
Yeah, I was just gonna say fuck Ric Flair. He's a piece of shit.
If Ric Flair just would about 7 years ago just stopped doing things and just went and lived his life, I think people would have been like, Ric Flair, one of, if not the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I can't stand that guy.
Yeah, he's really annoying. Like that's an understatement. Like I don't know what happened to him. Like I used to think he was like the greatest, and like I'm not gonna take anything away from his in-ring stuff. He's still amazing there, but like
I will say something that Bret Hart pointed out, and I do agree with him.
What?
If you've seen one Ric Flair match, you've seen all Ric Flair.
Oh yeah.
It's all dependent upon how good the opponents are.
True, but man, what a complete tool in that that ESPN doc they did on him. What a scumbag! Like. Yeah, I don't know.
And he's proud of being a scumbag. That's the thing that bugs me the most.
Oh God, he was on some podcast recently where he's like, Vince McMahon's my hero. It was just like, what do you say? Oh God.
I don't disagree with that. That's Shaggy. That's a good point as well. I feel like he has handlers now who definitely are making a buck off of him. Yeah. But he's happy to do that. Also, if you listen to anything Jake Manning has said about him when Jake Manning used to work at High Spots and how he fucked High Spots out of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah. No,
you're like, what a scuzzy son of a bitch.
He is such a grifter for money. Like it's like he owes everyone in the wrestling business. It seems almost. It's insane. And no one's ever going to see that money back.
Also, I want to point out one other thing since we're on this subject.
Yeah, go for it.
When did it become such in the internet wrestling community, when did it become such a big fucking issue with calling out shitty behavior by like the Young Bucks?
Oh, I don't know. I was a fan of theirs for like 2 seconds, and then like I found out their politics, and I'm like, oh,
I have no idea what their politics are. I'm just, I figured they're kind of right wingy boys,
big time.
I just find like this idea, especially with that whole the all out brawl. They're not victims in that.
No, they're not.
If you go in somebody's dressing room pissed off, and then you get your ass beat.
Yeah. Oh, I'm totally team CM Punk and Ace Steel on this. Like, I think, and seeing, remembering,
and if 3 people come into your locker room and there's only like 2 of you in there, you better believe you're going to get the worst end of it, because I'm going to beat your ass with everything I have, because I'm going to treat it like, oh, you guys are coming into her and I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I have a torn tricep.
Yeah.
You
better, and the way they've been handling themselves, like after this, I don't know, like they've got like, just, I don't know, man.
It made me go back, because I really was like, their thing with the whole like, not making the tryout, and their whole like Booker T didn't like us thing, and Booker T, like, I don't always care for Booker T either. But I can see now why someone would go, you guys handle yourselves like a couple dick bags.
Yeah. I've bitten people in fights. I've legit done that. I was known for that.
Yep. I would. I mean, to me, if we get in a fist fight, it's not a fucking boxing match.
Yeah.
There are not rules.
Yeah.
I've had my ass beat by people who pick something up and just hit me with it.
Yeah.
I remember coming home the first time in middle school, after getting the shit knocked out of me by somebody who, I went in like this, and they pulled my fucking shirt over my head and kneed me in the face, broke my nose, gave me a black eye. And I didn't know how to respond to that. I was like, but that's not fights. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, it is, dumb fuck. Yeah. And my grandfather and dad saying, like, if you want to get in a fist fight, you better realize there aren't rules.
Yeah. Growing up as an overweight kid in the 90s in a small little hardcore conservative mining town, I got my ass kicked quite a bit. I had to learn how to fight really, really dirty if I didn't want to get fucking annihilated. So
Shaggy, you ain't wrong, but the difference is, I can't think of a time where CM Punk has lied about being innocent or said he's innocent. He's always been like, I'm a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
And he does, and it's just, I don't know. Like, I remember being in school, getting ready to graduate, and my brother got into an argument in a pushing match with someone who was older than me, and my brother's 3 years younger than me. And my brother hit them with a brick.
Yeah. Fights were insane.
Because my brother's tall, like he's my height, maybe a little taller, but he's a skinny boy. And this took place when I couldn't do anything because my arm was in a sling because I almost cut it off. And then I also was in a cast on my leg. And my brother got knocked down, and that person was like, I'm going to fuck you up, which was like crazy because that person was like 20 years old. And Sean just hit him with a brick.
Yeah.
I can remember going to pick my brother up drunk from a bar in a town called New Toronto, which is about 400 people, about 3 miles away. And when I came to get him, he had his shirt off and had a pool cue and was yelling at fucking rednecks that he was going to fuck their mother. And he was outnumbered quite a bit. And as we left, he threw a fucking pool ball at someone. Same thing. He was with me at a college party.
Those aren't soft.
He was with me at a college party, and he disappeared for a while. And I found him drunk off his ass, threatening to fight an entire baseball team in a hallway.
Oh, I've almost gotten into a fight with him. I can relate to that.
And in between telling them how much he was going to fuck them up, he was vomiting on the floor.
Wow.
I mean, biting is like, to me, that's like, yeah, if the shirts come off, like, it's not even for a fat kid. It's not even the shirts come off. If you get in my face and I tell you, if you really want to do this, let's do this, and we lay hands on each other, I don't give a fuck. I mean, I have chased somebody underneath a car. So I mean, if you want to do this, like, let's do this. But I don't look forward to that, nor do I look for it. But I've seen some fucked up stuff. So yeah, it's my grandfather and my father were like, hey, if you get in a fight, it's a fight.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you guys want to get up and shake hands afterwards, that's fine. But, if it's going to get to that point and someone comes for you, you can't just be like, shocked by it. Because that's what happened in that moment. I got fucked up because I was like, I thought we were going to do this. And then they were like, oh no, we're going to do, this is a goddamn hockey fight,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I got fucked up and I didn't throw a punch. And I remember afterwards being like, like standing there still like this, nose all fucked up, eye blackening, and the person goes, "Are we done?" And I go, I guess. And they're like, "Okay," and we were fine afterwards. But I mean, I got the shit kicked out of me in that.
Yeah, man. It was rough back in the day.
I also always tell the story that my brother was kind of an outsider in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
He learned how to weld early in high school, and he was making like tricked out bikes.
Ooh.
And some kids in his grade who were kind of your classic bully kids, came and took one of his bikes and wrecked it and threw it in the garbage. And my brother took a pellet gun to school that looked like a handgun, and made that person get on their knees and beg for their life in front of a bunch of people. And then the police came to my parents' house. I was away at college when this happened, by the way. And literally my brother was like, "Prove it." And my family has a bunch of law enforcement in it. And my dad was like, "Be fucking honest." And my brother's like, "Prove it. Prove it." So it's his word against my word, right? Prove it. Well, there was a bunch of witnesses. Really? Okay. Because I feel like if you could prove it, you would be putting me in that car right now. And just how irate my parents were.
Yeah. I can, yeah.
Or just like when my brother had to come live with me in Wisconsin for a few years because he was probably going away, if not. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I get it in a way because he didn't have a bunch of close buddies. Like I always had buddies who had my back, and when we weren't having each other's back, we were of course fighting with one another.
Yeah.
Because that's just what you did, you know. I mean, I probably had more black eyes from people I was friends with than I did from anyone else. Because
especially in the Attitude Era.
Well, you'd also do dumb shit like let's slap box, or let's.
Oh, you know, God, yeah, man. I remember.
Or for fuck's sake, when we got actual boxing gloves, it was so dumb. We would just fucking pummel each other. Or back before we understood that wrestling wasn't a real thing in middle school, and we were just kicking the living shit out of each other in the front yard.
Oh yeah.
You know, dumb shit like that. But
yeah. Or just, oh man, how about a good game of like fucking like nut tag where you just slam someone's testicles with as much force as possible. Oh my God, I remember throwing up once in school because someone did that and I wasn't ready for it. Oh, it was awful.
And because I'm old, we used to do things like have BB gun wars, where we would all load up with BB guns and go out to this abandoned concrete plant and make teams and then shoot each other with fucking fireworks and BB guns because we were idiots.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God, you had to make your own fun though back then. You know, it was all about making.
This is the back in the old times where your parents were like, "Oh, you go out and play," and you'd be
when it gets dark, come back.
Yeah. Which you could not do today.
And like, oh, you're gone. Well, unless I know whose parents' house you're at, I have no way of getting in touch for you unless I search you out myself. Like,
which is scary because we had Yorkie Smith before when I was younger, who raped and killed a bunch of kids and threw them in the Neosho River. So, and everybody in town who was like 4 or 5 years old and me had a Yorkie Smith story.
God damn.
So it's like, yes.
Oh.
Yep. Dumb shit.
Yeah, dude.
Hey, let's go jump off the dam.
Oh, I remember like, hey, let's like
don't do it because it's dumb as fuck.
Let's throw them up in the air and everyone just scatter and make sure it doesn't hit you. Like,
or see if you can catch it on the way down.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I did not grow up in that area.
Yeah. Oh no, that sounds like you could have some tales to tell, Shaggy, for sure.
But I think, you know, the kind of, I don't know, I'm not sure how we got from this tangent, but I think the thing to take away
Ric
from
Flair
that
got us here.
I'm
blaming Ric Flair.
Yeah, I think I think probably didn't help. But I think, you know, kind of the thing to take away from it is you can look at those as a little bit of a backbone to storytelling as well.
Yeah.
What kind of relationship do people have in your group? One of the things I love about like Apocalypse World is that idea of there's these questions you're asking of one another. When in doubt, Brian McFlair.
Flair did it.
All of his ex-wives do, and none of them are in doubt.
Mm-mm.
I think that's another thing to do when you start building, you start having with your players building their story, is have them utilize some of that background history questions that you use in an Apocalypse World game. One of them is like, who's the last person within your group that left you lying in the dirt?
Ooh.
Who's the person in your group who spotted you money when you were in a jam?
Mm-hmm.
Who did you do a job with and it went sideways?
Yeah. Oh, this. Yeah. I specifically remember when we did this with was it Masks or
You don't want that.
It was great. It was great though.
Masks has any Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yeah, like that. I remember just like because like I think this I can't remember, like I was fawning over someone in like you're kind of my like idol sort of way, and
Star
then
Wars maybe.
It was perfect. Oh God, Star Wars was fun.
Who was your character in that? Was something Fontaine, wasn't it?
I think I might have resurrected Terry Fontaine again.
Terry Fontaine,
yeah. But this time he was like Casper Van Dien from Starship Troopers.
You had like a light purple jumpsuit, and you had a sidekick named Arn Arneson.
Oh my God. Five Wives, almost the same. Almost.
Five Wives.
Woo!
So yeah, Colin, I think I was supposed to do Colin, where can people find you?
Here.
That's where we were at. Yeah, here. Fuck me.
Here, find me here if you happen to have an Xbox. If you're one of those weirdos like me, Chef C Rock, not Chef Croc, not Chef Crack Rock, which some people like. Oh, is that what you're making? No, I thought Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys was the coolest thing when I made this gamer tag years ago, and so he was the King Ad Rock. I was the King C Rock for a brief moment. Then I became a chef. And now we're full circle again, everybody. King, where are you these days?
Well, I'm here most of the time when I'm not fucked up. And again, I greatly apologize for the last 2 weeks. I know that it's been like real spotty, but
no need to. Health and all that should be first and foremost with everything.
I felt really bad. Like last Sunday, I was already like kind of groggy. And then I think I said this yesterday during my Zomboid thing, was I like to explain myself because I don't want people to think I'm just like, fuck this.
Oh, yeah.
So I had a seizure on my basement stairs going upstairs. And so I lose bodily control, and I usually lose time. And my wife said all she could hear was like this repeated pounding. And she came down the stairs, and my head was banging against the stairs. So you can't see it really anymore, but I had a big bruise here.
Yeah,
and
I saw the picture. Yeah.
I had rug burn on my forehead.
It was nasty.
So I banged the fuck out of my head, and I'm pretty sure I concussed. And then later on that day, when she was helping me get into bed, I banged the fuck out of my head again on the bookshelf by my bed.
Oh, yeah.
And so I spent like Tuesday or Monday night through Friday early afternoon in bed with ice on my head, basically, because it was like everything hurt. And as my wife pointed out, at about 6 o'clock on Friday, she was like, "You sound somewhat normal," because she's like, "You sounded drunk for like 4 days," and I really hurt. My head hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And I was having real processing problems. So, and because my meds were fucked up for that week, it's taken me a while to like get kind of that straightened out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, knock on wood, we're on the other side of that now.
Yeah, dude.
But so if I have to cancel or miss stuff, I don't like it. I felt bad. And that's why I streamed Saturday morning, because I felt so guilty about I wanted to do Friday But I was dumb and I mowed Friday afternoon. And to mow my entire yard takes between an hour and 15 to an hour and 30 minutes. And the last 20 minutes of mowing were fucking brutal.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if I stop, I won't finish. Just pollen, but also like I started to get kind of
yeah.
But I got it done. And then at that point I was like, I'm gonna go inside. And then I went inside and I laid down and I got up just long enough to go sit on the couch, eat food, and then went back and laid down in bed. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this.
Yeah.
Which is funny because like 7:30, I was like, I probably could have streamed. But then I was like, well, that would require me going down a flight of stairs, and I'm not real comfortable with that right now.
Yeah. No, it's better that you took the day. It really is. Yeah.
So yesterday, we went for our walk, and it was good, and I felt pretty good. Ducks. So yeah, we saw some fucking baby ducks.
It was so cool.
If anyone wants to see them, I took some pictures, which is funny because I forgot to take a picture of all of us together who went, which I fucked up and forgot, and usually that's my thing.
Next time.
So yeah, thank you for hanging out for stream yesterday, but this is a problem. I'm super like right now.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's down Outlands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out time to do the Make It Chaos Scar with the Wrestle Boys. I might do 2 Chaos Scars next month.
Oh.
I'm still trying to figure out like how to do Old Fay Roads, Star Wars, Chaos Scar, and Down Outlands each month. I know it's a lot. I don't know if I can do that. I might take and do like every other month or so of those other games.
Yeah.
Yeah, to Ric Flair. Fuck you, Ric Flair, giving me
fucking Ric Flair.
We're blaming
Ric Flair.
Blaming Ric Flair for the failed
FRF. Let's get a shirt.
Just say no to woos.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
What would Ric Flair's former wives do? So yeah, I'm trying to get back on track. I really do apologize. But I think I might try to Minecraft some. I put on a call to the crafting kids and see if anyone wanted crafting kids today.
Yeah.
But I know Beard was interested. He's on the backside of the end of
all the school
stuff. I'm not going to share his special school news but I will say I am beyond proud of you, buddy. I know you don't watch this, but I'm so proud of you.
Heck yeah.
You did good, my friend. You did good.
Good guy. He's a good guy.
We have to take Woo back. Taking Woo back. I love it.
Taking the Woos back. Yeah. Wu-Tang Clan, not Ric Flair Woos.
So have a good.
I love that you did the appropriate, like hook of the thumb and everything. Yes, thank you.
So have a good rest of your Sunday. Maybe it's for the children.
It is for the children.
Yeah, for the children.
Woo, tang, woo, tang. Anyway, sorry.
Touch your neck. So we might be on later today streaming. If anyone's interested. Crafting. We'll be crafting kids. But otherwise it'll be tomorrow night. And thank you guys who tuned in and watched today.
Chat's been great as always. You guys are just wonderful. Love you guys. And thanks for everyone who's watching or will watch in the future. We appreciate it.
Big ups to Matt, who's at the Toy Swap.
Hope it's going good, Matt.
He said it's going pretty good.
Good.
Thank you guys, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Otherwise, have a good rest of your Sunday fun day.
Yeah.
Hug your friends. Tell them that you love them. Eat something delicious.
I guess something delicious.
Find that umami out there.
Look for the umami Jesus. If you can only find a sweet Jesus, that's fine. But I know there's salty out there.
The umami Jesus means that there's also savory Jesus, salty Jesus, sweet Jesus, sour Jesus. All right. And fuck Ric Flair.
Fuck you, Ric Flair. Bye, everybody.